Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I'm your host, David Streggy, and here in the room I have with me Boris, uh,
Hi.
coming all the way from Croatia, and I tasked him uh, with watching a a film that actually was at the same film festival that Holy Hell was at, called Milwaukee Twisted Dreams Festival. And though it did not um, win Best Feature at the first season of the that particular festival, um, I found this film unique and I found the director unique because he actually came up to me directly and gave me a screener of this film. And then
Oh,
later maybe about a couple of months ago, I decided to go back and I decided to buy the digital copy and download load it. And through that way, I was able to share it with Boris here. Nothing illegal. So
thank you. Thank
um,
you.
and, he's from the other side of the world, so he was able to get to see this movie. So um,
Indeed. Thank
unreleased
you a lot.
film unreleased film to the public, but I'm able to share it with someone from across the world. So um, I'm glad that I got this opportunity to share it with you because you've become a very good friend of mine, and I I like your perspective because you have passion. You have passion for some of these films. This was an independent film. I will tell you that the director mortgaged his house to actually finance the film.
I'm sorry, what did you say? The director.
Mortgaged his house to finance this film.
Oh my. Wow, I didn't know that.
Also, at the time, he'd actually given me a poster of the film, so I'm just going to show it
Oh,
to you.
ooh. Oh, wow.
It,
Very nice.
it's not exact. I mean, I've tried to keep it somewhat, but unfortunately, it got a few folds in it and whatnot. And but he said he actually wrote on here. See what it says. David, thanks for your support, Dave Fugett. And
Oh, very nice.
that is the director of the film. His name is Dave Fugett, and the film was filmed in 2016. And the film is called The Hike.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read the summary that IMDb gives us before we go into first impressions here. So,
Okay.
an estranged couple agree to meet for a hike. Derek arrives full of optimism and hope for the marriage. Brooke brings divorce papers for him to sign. A fight ensues just before the couple are eyed by a killer in hiding who terrorizes them, forcing them into a game of cat and mouse where Brooke and Derek will have to work together in order to survive.
Oh, yeah. Uh,
So, what was your first impression of this film?
Today I watched this movie for the first time, and the impressions were very good. It was a very exciting and suspenseful thriller. It uh, l- it really had me on edge throughout the major part of the movie. Only at the beginning, I felt it was going a little too slow with Derek and Brooke having an argument about their marriage and so on, but very soon it became exciting and it stayed that way until the very end.
Okay. And this was a first time watch for you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you think of the characters of shall I say, I believe her name is Brooke and Derek. Brooke is played by Monica Olive, and Derek is played by John LeBland, by the way. So, um, what did you think about these two characters? Did you think that they had chemistry between the two of them?
Well, yeah, they did, and one thing I would like to point out is that they are portrayed as very realistic people with virtues and flaws, which is, well, realistic. Like I said, that's something I really like about their characterization. So, in my opinion, although we didn't get too much insight into the past of their marriage, but I got the impression that Brooke was a little intolerant, which is also emphasized when Derek says that he wasn't looking for, how did he say it? That he wasn't looking for chances but for support, which means that she was not very supportive during their marriage. However, throughout the movie, when they find themselves in situations we are going to elaborate on, you can kind of see some moments when she is realizing how much he still means to her, and uh, she learns to appreciate him with all that he is. So that is something good about the way they wrote her character, and well, I could say the same about Derek. I mean, as far as we know, he is a man who struggled with addiction to alcohol, and he also mentioned later on having some problems at his work, but I didn't quite manage to distinguish what he said there. But yeah, as far as we got to know, his life wasn't easy either, and it's not really surprising that things turned out the way they did.
Yeah, I mean, the characters were somewhat fleshed out. In the very beginning of this film, we have Brooke. She's driving to this area of evidently now a no trespassing zone, but evidently there's this area of woods that apparently the husband and wife they used to take this traditional hike um, together every year, I guess, and this is where they decided to meet. And Brooke was on her way with divorce papers, thinking that she could just get these papers signed and get them over with and move on with her life. And um, the other guy he might have thought that there might still be a chance with them. Obviously, there was a child that
Yeah,
they have um, at home
yeah.
that is being babysat sat by someone that Brooke was talking to on the phone on the way up, and there's some really pretty music that was playing during that drive. Uh,
Oh, indeed. And yeah, I remember this woman, Ali, who Brooke was having a phone conversation with. She, for some reason, told her to skip that one song, but I didn't quite understand why.
Well, and Jackie Shea, that was the woman who played Allie, I guess.
Yes. Mm,
So, but in any case, so what they do is they end up meeting at this area right before this no trespassing zone, and they begin their hike. And that's when we start to see um, the tension that is between the two of them. Um, and like you said, the obviously there was some alcoholism going on with Derek at one point, and according to him, he's um, probably gotten himself sobered. Um,
but not entirely.
not entirely, no, but in the middle of their hike, they end up running into another character. Well, several other characters. They end up running into a sheriff or deputy. That
Yeah, that one appears a little later, as far as I remember.
well, he appears a little later, but they end up running into a character by the name of Delbert Grady.
Yeah. Well,
Which he's played by Dave Fugett, the director of this film.
yeah, I noticed that was pretty interesting. I mean, okay, I probably haven't seen nearly as many movies as you, but this is the first time I noticed a director giving himself the role of the main villain. That was an interesting choice.
Well, it's not probably the first time I've seen that happen. No, but he definitely is an interesting character, to say the least. Uh, so before they run into this character, they run into a hunter that is evidently poaching off of the land, and I think the hunter gets shot.
Yes, he gets. I don't know now. Is it shot or stabbed? I'm not sure. But
I
yeah,
believe I believe he gets shot because the Brooke, because um, she's on her own at this moment because oh, that's right, Derek, um, he somehow stumbled or something like that, hurt his foot or hurt his leg.
his feet were shot at.
That's right. So his feet were shot at, and he was injured. So Brooke went off to try to find help. Well, she ran into the hunter, um, who went off to see if he could try to find someone. He got shot or stabbed or whatnot, and this Grady character came along and started.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of Grady?
Well, uh, I have to say the actor is very good. He did a very good job playing this role. He really managed to make me hate that character. And
He was definitely sarcastic.
yeah, well, the only complaint I have about Grady as a character is that we don't really get to know much about his past, about how or why he became the sort of person he was. Uh,
Which I'm not entirely sure whether you entirely need to know his background se. I think he was meant to be hated or disliked. You were meant to believe that he is just this sadistic and this controlling because he makes both Rook and Derek hike a little longer,
Yes.
and uh, anyone who gets in his way of his captives, he ends up killing.
Yeah, and if I understood everything correctly, one of those killings was what eventually backfired on him big time.
Correct. He um, he made sure that he somewhat terrorized Derek and Brooke before he began a sort of slow um, torture with Brooke's character, where eventually he ended up tying her to some kind of trees,
Yeah, yeah.
and he there was a lot there was a lot of dialogue exchanged between Brooke and Grady,
Indeed.
and
Uh,
I think there was some dialogue set between him and Derek as well. But he was more. He seemed like he was more. He had more zeroed in on Brooke. What do you think about the exchanges that he had with Brooke?
Well, I think he was more focused on Brooke because she is a woman, and aside of torturing her mentally, he also wanted to have sex with her, as far as we saw. So I think that's why he was maybe more focused on her than he was on Derek.
He didn't just want to have sex with her; he wanted to rape
Yes, yes, indeed.
her. He tied her up, and he made it so that Derek was like somewhat in the vicinity of because he had a. I think he had a helper, didn't he?
Uh, 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 Grady had a helper. Who was it?
Someone to take Derek down below, but not too far so that he could hear and see what was happening to Brooke.
I don't know. I didn't notice that. The only characters I remember are Brooke, Derek, Grady, Gordon, this police officer, and the hunter who gets killed, and
Okay,
yeah, Ellie and the
so
little girl.
then it was Grady who actually went and took him a little bit further down the way, and um, I know that Brooke was concerned about where he was taking him um, per se, and the detective or the police officer, he's kind of what ultimately um, somewhat helped Brooke.
Well, yeah, but it didn't end well for him, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately not. When someone intervenes to try to help, it seems, but I think it's because of the deputy that Brooke is able to take and considerably unbind herself from the tree on her own and escape, from what I understand.
Oh, indeed, yeah, and Is that how they were brought to the place where the final encounter happened?
Yeah, I believe so. There was definitely it was definitely a long exchange. I mean, the pacing of this film was slow, but I think that most independent films, the ones that are artistic, are slow. I liked the setting of where this was filmed. I thought
Oh, it did.
I thought that some of the areas that they were walking through were very beautiful. There were a couple of views that you could see that the couple was walking down. I thought you definitely got to see a little bit of nature.
Oh, it did. The scenery is very beautiful. I agree.
Was there any particular scenery that you liked in the film?
Well, it pretty much all looked very nice, the entire location, but I'm not sure if I can point out something in particular.
Okay. I mean, to me, even if it's just a particular, backdrop that you might have liked, like the way the trees look behind them or something like that. You never know. Details can be picked up over time. I thought the film was shot well. Um,
Oh, definitely. Mm.
um, do you think that this scenario is very believable?
It was very believable. Yeah. Mm. Although the only maybe a little unbelievable thing is that this man could have killed apparently so many people before he targeted Brooke and Derek, and no one had not, it's not only that no one had caught him, but there wasn't even any alert about a mysterious serial killer being out there or anything like that.
Well, I know that one thing that was different for the couple is that they did not remember it being private property at any given
Oh,
time
uh,
before they met up there. They
oh yeah, I actually wanted to mention that, we never really got to find out who the apparent owner of that property was.
no, so evidently the couple, Brooke and Derek, just decided to ignore that no trespassing sign, like most kids do, anyways. And to definitely go on that hike that they wanted to do. So, um, do
Mm.
what do you think of Derek's character up to the point of where we didn't see him anymore?
Uh, well, I actually uh, kind of found him sympathetic. I felt sorry for him during the first verbal fight he had with Brooke before Grady appeared. Like I said before, she really came off as a bit intolerant at that point, and I felt a bit sorry for Derek there.
So, did you feel like you could be more sympathetic to him than to her? Then through this whole film.
Well, maybe I would need to have more insight into what happened between them before the events of the movie, which we don't
Yeah,
really get to find
there are
out much about.
there are always two
But
sides to every story.
yeah, Although I do need to point out, while alcoholism is often associated with violence, like domestic violence and such things, as far as we saw, Derek was never violent. So even if he was an alcoholic, he
Did we
probably
figure out what they did and what their jobs were in real life? Did he flesh those out at all?
I think he may have mentioned something in the scene where he was begging Grady to kill him, but I didn't manage to distinguish exactly what he said about his job.
Now, did he get all whiny and crying when Delbert was threatening Brooke at all, or was Derek more of a man and defiant when?
Well, Derek eventually showed quite unexpected strength, both mental and physical, during the final encounter. Like, in
Because
spite of
some men would just let their women be tortured and like cower and hide but some men actually defend their women and are strong and fight back. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, Derek definitely did fight to save Brooke, and it was a brilliant scene.
Yes, because he ultimately did come back and try to help her escape. Did he not?
Yeah, yeah, and
No.
eventually he succeeded.
Now, did Gilbert Grady end up getting Brooke entirely naked while he was having her tied to the two trees?
Uh, as far as I remember, I might be wrong because, like I said before, I usually tend to forget some details after watching a movie only once. But as far as I remember, I think he did get her completely naked, but we didn't get to see it all on screen. Yeah, yeah, we did see her butt at one point. So yeah, he did get her naked.
Well, I know he tried to make her give him a blowjob at one point in time, uh,
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 y-
but I think she refused or whatnot.
yeah, yeah, he didn't end up happening, and uh, yeah, it led to something very interesting near the very end of the movie.
He actually did get her. He actually did while while they were while they were separate from her husband. He actually did make her get all the way undressed while he
Yes,
walked.
yeah, he did, and yeah, if I remember correctly, after she refused to give him a blowjob, was it then that he covered her eyes and walked away, which left her in even more panic because she didn't know what he was going to do next.
Okay, so she was actually entirely naked while she was tied to those trees. Because he had actually told her to take off all her clothes, and yeah, so he kept interrogating her while he had her tied there, because he had pulled out his knife, a knife, and it seemed like it was more of a psychological dialogue here, and he was telling her what he was going to do to her.
Uh, Oh yeah, those things he said were very gruesome, even to hear, even if he didn't end up doing what he said. Just imagining those things was pretty terrifying.
Well, and one thing that I thought that was interesting is he was actually able to get uh, a camera shot of the scope that his rifle was actually seen, because you actually saw the crosshairs.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
that was interesting. I haven't seen too many of those in independent films where you actually get to see the inside of the rifle.
Oh, well, good point. I did see it otherwise in movies and shows, but yeah, not in independent movies as far as I remember. That that really was interesting now that you say it. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about it being an independent movie, although I know it was, but it didn't cross my mind at that very point because everything was done pretty professionally.
Well, and even though I know that you know that she was naked, tied to these trees, it doesn't go below like her chest at any given point in time. Most of that is suggested that you're just supposed to know that she's like nude.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was very respectful to me that you don't see nipples, or you don't see bush, or you don't see anything thing below what you think should be technically seen, which I'm assuming that's probably something that he didn't want to have the actress do in any case. Uh,
well, if I remember correctly, at one point, the first time that Grady forced her to undress, at that time we didn't see her breasts, but later, I think later we did see them for a short moment.
yeah, but still, most of that most of that nakedness was implied, um,
It did.
which is kind of my point, because
Yeah,
you I think that was very unique, using camera angles to assume that there was more torture going on than anything else. And I guess he blindfolded her with her shirt.
oh, yes, yeah, he did. That was before he walked away, and
Meanwhile, Derek was tied to a tree, and he looks like he escaped. Looks like his leg was pretty much
mm,
gone. But somehow, right about this point is when the deputy showed up. Security, actually, security.
yeah, and yeah, he was about to release Brooke, but then Grady came back and attacked from behind, which left the security guy kind of helpless.
Okay, and now she evidently she is now getting dressed in the background while he's holding a gun to the head of the security guy, and they eventually, well, he gets the dude in his crosshairs again. Oh, yep, he's got Derek in the crosshairs.
Yeah, yeah, and uh, I remember that.
And then of course he lets him go, I think.
Uh, I'm sorry, he left what?
I think he let him go.
Oh,
He just I think he wanted to just threaten his life for a moment, make us think that he was going to shoot him, and one of
oh yeah, and then he just said he is fine, and he didn't shoot. If that's the scene we are talking about.
so. What did you think about the end game of this film? How it ended up? What did you? Oh, and spoiler alert, folks.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
we spoil the shit out of these movies for sure.
yeah, we do. Uh,
But what do you think about how he in fact um, Dilbert Grady
uh, well,
and his supposed death?
I really liked that scene a lot. Like throughout the major part of the movie, I was anticipating the moment when Grady gets what he deserved, and I was wondering how he was going to end. And that moment when he fell on the antlers of the dead deer, that was. Pretty brutal, but pretty well deserved after everything he did.
Pretty
And
priceless, to be honest. That was, I mean, it was. I personally like the dialogue that Delbert Grady does throughout the whole thing while he's making them hike this way, while he's getting the people in his crosshairs. He definitely, as a director and as an actor, really put us in the mind of this serial killer. Um,
it,
you
it did. The dialogues were interesting. Like there are these moments when he is having some pretty casual conversations with Derek and Brooke, like about movies, shows, music, and so on. And like if you took just those dialogues out of context, if you watched only those scenes without knowing what's going on in the movie, you couldn't even tell that he is some sort of bad guy, and then he suddenly goes back to doing what he does. And yeah, like I said, the actor did an amazing job at portraying this terrifying character.
um, what did you think of the special effects of the film?
Well, they were very good, especially when he fell on the antlers, the antlers of the dead deer, and you can see them sticking out of his body. That was really well done.
I think so too. I mean, I don't think there were too many CGI moments. Much of this was, I think, just relatively, you know,
Mm,
um,
more practical effects.
correct. The only thing that might have been a little bit CGI'd is possibly some of the blood at the very end, and with the antlers and whatnot. I thought that was a very cool effect. The film, to me, was very well shot for having only
Definitely.
4 people in the in the real cast, even though there were a few more. But 4 main people.
Uh,
Um, I thought
yeah.
this was a decent film. I thought this was a very good film.
Oh, it definitely was. Yeah, like I have seen some thrillers in my life, and this one, I would say, even if it's an independent film, I couldn't point out one thing that makes it any less good or less professional than any other thriller I saw.
Well, one thing I wanted to say is that um, originally he had a different actress, and I think the fact that he actually changed the actress who played Brooke actually did something in his favor. So I'm glad that we have what we have in this film. I know it's. I had more of a listening experience to some of the behind the scenes of what he did for this film, because at the end of the film festival that this was at, he did kind of a commentary about his character, um,
Ooh.
and um, how he created his character. Um,
Well, I didn't see it, so would you mind telling me more?
well, he did say that Grady. If you think about, have you ever seen the movie called The Shining?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, there was a character that was um, had the last name of Grady. He was the original caretaker for the house, for the hotel that was in The Shining. That Jack Nicholson had in fact um, taken over, and he's the one who um, um, he's the one who ultimately uh, killed his two daughters, and those are the
Oh, oh
girls
yeah.
that say, "Hey, we want to play."
Come play with us, Daddy.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that was one of the
Grady was
most.
the last name of the caretaker, his name. So uh,
Yeah, actually, when I heard the name of this character in the hike, it did make me think of The Shining for a moment, but I thought it was probably coincidental.
but in any case, ultimately, was there a favorite scene that you have of this film, per se, like a specific dialogue or scene between Delbert Grady and or the Grady character, um, Dave Fugett's character, or
Well,
Brooke or Derek? Or,
I think my favorite scene had probably the favorite scene of the majority of people who have watched this movie would be Grady's demise. Like when he falls on the antlers, it's really very well imagined for so many reasons. Like when you think about the beginning of the movie, this hunter who got killed by Grady, he mentions having killed a deer, which implies it's the same deer at the end. So at the very beginning of the movie, they were already foreshadowing Grady's demise. That's very interesting. And also,
I think that
yeah,
my favorite scene would probably have to be when he made her undress for some reason, because that was a very that was a shaming moment because he actually sat there and watched her take each piece off, and you could tell that she really didn't want to, and yet, you know, she was being
Yeah,
told, and then she was tied to the posts, the tree posts, and then, the way that he was talking to her was very terrifying. I mean,
uh, indeed, it really, I must say, it really took some creativity to come up with those dialogues, with those terrifying things he says. By the way, I'm sorry, I hear some echo of myself right now. Something is wrong with the sound.
okay. I don't hear anything. Maybe is it my echo or is it your echo?
It is, wait, right now I don't hear it, but I think it was like a distorted echo of my own voice.
Oh, we'll keep going. And um, what did you think about the music?
Well, the music was pretty nice, and I would say at least the particular songs we heard were pretty soft for a story like this.
It was definitely to me. I think the brutality of the film was implied. That's the big word. Everything was implied to me. To me, you didn't fully see the brutality.
Y-
It was more suggested. Um, in
Yeah,
the,
that
I mean, and that's all you really need. I mean, to be honest, I mean, you don't really need to see the gore entirely. It wasn't
it,
an entirely gory film either,
yeah, it wasn't gory, and that's a very interesting thing you're pointing out. I mean, when you hear,
much of the gore was described by Mr. Grady. Uh,
yes, yes, I was about to say when you the way the actor portrayed this character, like when you just hear him say all those words, it almost feels like you have already seen it happen.
right? I mean, some some films end up being that way, where much of it is suggested and implied. I say those words with levity because, um, you know, a lot of times you see the gore, and sometimes it doesn't carry as much weight as the words do.
Indeed, sometimes less is more. Indeed, like I can actually remember a moment when I was reading some scary short story online, and at the end, it was revealed that two particular characters from the story were ghosts, and a photo was mentioned that. Uh, Someone took a photo of them, and it was said that on the photo they looked mutilated. That was the only word. There wasn't any further description. It was only said that they looked mutilated, and that was really enough to create a shocking moment to the reader. Like it left up to interpretation how exactly they were mutilated or to what extent. And when it's left up to your imagination, it's even scarier than if it was all described in detail, because what you imagine may be scarier than what the very author imagined.
Correct, and just like the full nudity that I'm sure that this Brooke character actually had to go through. A lot of it was suggested. um, because you only get to see her backside, and you get to see maybe about a little bit above here. So
It did, yeah.
um, uh, the I guess more of what you might think is actually in your mind.
It did. And
So, but other than that, what did you think of the film? Did you have anything else that you may want to say about this film um, before we sign off here?
well, yeah, there were actually a few things I wanted to say. Like, for example, one thing that, in my opinion, makes the ending of this movie very memorable is when Grady is lying down on the antlers and dying and begging for help, which is also pretty symbolic because he had enjoyed people suffering and now he is suffering and begging for help. And then it's a stereotype that uh, uh, good heroic character will usually help even a villain in a situation like that, but Derek didn't. He actually pushed him further down on the antlers and said, "No, you're not going anywhere." That was, or I'm not sure if he said it in those exact words, but yeah, he refused to let him move from there, well, just to be safe after everything that happened before. So that was very memorable in my opinion, and
I like to agree. It was a very very graphic, well played out moment there, and
in and it was also surprising for Derek, of all people, to be the one who manages to bring Grady down. Like, I mean, Derek was all battered and had bullets in his feet and so on, and he was pretty much physically weak. So it was very surprising to see him, of all people, do what he did. That was really.
surprisingly, some people surprise you uh, in the least expected moment when you think that the people have been taken care of uh, beyond the extent you don't expect some things to happen, and I think that's what happened here. You thought the viewer was probably led to believe that Derek was incapacitated and he couldn't really do much, and yet
Yeah,
he had enough fight in him to to get the last dirty deed done. So,
indeed. I think that's what some people say. You don't really know how much strength you have until you actually have to use it.
or go through the experience of having to have those last minute efforts, those survival tactics that I think every human has within them. It's just if you're cornered and you're forced to the extremes that these two were, you know, there's no telling what kind of a fight is left in them. You know,
Indeed, yeah. So that's really one of the most memorable thriller endings I have seen so far.
anything else?
Well, yeah, unrelated to that, this was the most memorable scene in my opinion. But another thing I wanted to point out is I was surprised that there were some plot details that were left unresolved. Like at one point, Derek tells Brooke that Ellie, her friend who is babysitting the girl, he says that that woman at one point wanted to have sex with him, which kind of made us expect something further to be said about that, or maybe something to happen, but no, nothing.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, or like I mentioned before, the no trespassing sign, it kind of makes us wonder who this new owner of the property is, and if the owner is maybe going to appear, but then nothing happens, which actually it allows us to theorize that maybe Grady himself is the owner and that he just used the no trespassing sign to lure people in and victimize them the way he does.
Very true, and it has been some time since this couple has been up to this hiking area. So you never know who might have actually acquired the land that surrounds this area of land that these people that this couple has enjoyed coming up here so often. So you never know what to expect when something changes from your vacation timing.
Indeed. Well, I have to say, for a moment, I kind of hoped that, as we saw earlier, Derek had a bottle of an alcoholic beverage with himself. I kind of hoped it would come into play again. Like, I hoped maybe someone would smack Grady on the head with that bottle, but no.
No, unfortunately, alcohol did not play a factor anymore than it did. It was left behind. Uh, but
Yeah.
in any case, I think that this film is on a specific platform. From what I understand, it is available to rent or buy as a download.
Oh.
Not on a DVD. That um, I know that originally Dave had said that the film he was going to eventually put it to a disc of some sort, but I don't think that has happened as of yet, or
Oh.
whatnot. I had hoped that maybe he could, in fact, put it to a disc. He said it was the only film that he was probably going to do. I think,
Oh.
but
So,
some people don't always have enough money to
so
put into making their own film. I mean, he had to mortgage his own house to afford to do his film, and from what I understand, when it went to other festivals, it actually won Best Feature at quite a few other festivals. So, um,
well, I'm not surprised, but when you said the only film, does that mean this is the first movie he has ever made?
correct, the first and the last, from what I understand.
Oh my. Well, if it's the first, if he had not had any previous experience as a filmmaker, then that fact makes this movie even better because it really looks professional. I mean,
Yeah,
so
it does look professional. I mean, like I said, it was really shot really well. I don't think I have any real problem with the actors that were involved. I don't feel like any of the acting was wooden. at all, because there are some films that I've seen where it just seems like they're there just to be there, and they have no enthusiasm whatsoever in their dialogue.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, I'm really impressed. I mean, when I saw what the movie looked like how well it was done, I assumed uh, the filmmaker must have had a lot of previous experience, but if not, that makes it even more amazing.
Oh yeah, he was a producer and a director known for just this particular film. So I don't see any other film that he's been part of. I know he went through some schooling, I think, to do what he did. This was a personal film that he had wanted to get done, and his wife helped him, of course. Um,
Wow.
but in any case, I'm glad I was able to get to share this with you. Um,
And I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
and I think that's all the time that we have for today, folks. Definitely,
Oh,
if you can find the film, I know that you can find it on a platform form of some sort. Hold on, let me see if I can find where really quick. I'm going to look up um, uh, Mr. Fugett here on Facebook. I have him as a friend. So
oh, very nice.
let's see. Okay, so yeah, the let's see. I'll look somewhere else. Let's see if it's the hike. Look up the page, see if I can find it in any way, shape, or form. Oh, there's the page. See if I can find it per se. Okay, yeah, it looks like it was winner of Best Actress Independent Horror. So it's been around. It had some festival laurels from 2015. Um,
Wow.
Supporting actor Dave Fugett, winner of Best Horror Film at Hollywood Verge Film Awards 2016. American Grindhouse official selection, something. So it's been the official selection of some film,
Oh,
got some laurels. So let's see about. Oh, posts. Let's see the posts. So, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to find the possible a website that I might have actually gotten this on, but I'm looking, seeing if there's a website that you can actually find it on. Okay, Never Hike Alone. Thehikemovie.net. If you go to thehikemovie.net, um, you can find the movie to stream. Movie.net. I'm going to the website right now, thehikemovie.net.
oh,
Yeah, it takes you to The film, it's on Vimeo.
Oh, cool.
So if you go to vimeo.com/on-demand/the hike, um,
There you can buy the movie, right?
buy the movie digitally and you can download it into your computer. It's I mean, there's some behind the scenes interview an interview with the director, um, and evidently he had gotten two nominations from Terror in the Bay Film Festival at
Wow.
one point. So yeah, you can check the film out on your own. I believe you can watch it on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Chromecast. But when I go to it, I can still because I bought the film. If I go to it, I can still download the film over and over and over. Once you buy it for real, then it's like you kind of own it. So it's about 2 hours and 2 minutes. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for letting us go on about this film.
Yeah, thank you.
And listening to our ramblings about this film. I thought it was a unique film to go on about and share with you because you have an interest in independent films, and um, I, I I enjoy watching independent films regardless. So
Same here.
I'm just glad I was able to share this one with you in some way, shape, or form because you're way the fuck across the other side of the world.
Yeah, I am. And it was really nice to be able to see this movie. So, yeah, thank you once again for that.
Definitely, man. Alrighty. Well, thank you for listening again, ladies and gentlemen. Like, share, and subscribe, and definitely check the film out for yourself. Again, it's on Vimeo. If you go to the hikemovie.net, you can find it from there. So, thank you so much. Enjoy
Indeed.
the rest of your day, evening, or morning, wherever you are.
Yeah, thank you all.